Did Rubio and Warner just meet with Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick? We've got that and a whole bunch more news to go over, so get in here, this Jack with Cosmic Road. It's time for another UFO News Roundup. Please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media, and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Oh, and if you wanted to support Cosmic Road in a bigger way, please consider becoming a channel member. See the first link in the description below. Okay, let's just get right to it. Reporter Matt Laszlo is on the ball, and he is getting one scoop after another. Exclusive. Centel Intelligence Chair Warner and Vice Chair Rubio recently met with the head of ARROW. I wonder what they discussed. Let's take a listen. On second thought, the audio is really bad.
I know.
Take a listen.
What happened to the investigation after the Inspector General report came over here?
I know that, the staff sat down. Let me get you a fulsome answer.
Well, I am curious.
Instead of that, let's go to the transcript. Matt Laszlo says, "Fancy meeting you here." He says, "I saw Warner hop on an elevator on the second floor, so I hopped another one down to the Capitol's basement and met him at his elevator doors open." Laszlo says, "I'm curious, there's reporting out there that you are the one who's blocking all UAP hearings here in the Senate." Warner says nothing. My mic picks up audio from a reporter we walk past. Warner looks perplexed and bewildered, lips never moving, turns to a staffer, his face screaming, "What the F?" Laszlo says, "I know. I say, my eyes embarrassed and begging forgiveness for asking a dumb, ill-informed question, knowing that the Senate Intelligence Chair does not unilaterally have the power to squash other committees' investigations." Laszlo says, "What happened to the investigation after the Inspector General report came over here?" Warner says, "I know that staff sat down. Let me get you a fulsome answer." Laszlo says, "I am curious what your guys plan, because the House Oversight answer, every whistleblower the committee's treated with respect and fully heard out." Laszlo, Round said he met with the head of ARROW, Kirkpatrick, and said he pushed him on the fact that whistleblowers don't feel protected. The article goes on, and Warner says, "The vice chairman and I have met recently with Dr. Kirkpatrick and reiterated our belief that this is a really serious topic and needs to be treated that way, and it's the first time that the federal government has put the resources and the scientific heft behind this effort, and we are absolutely very closely monitoring it." Laszlo says, "Have you talked to Administrator Nelson at NASA about his new UAP venture?" "Not recently, but I do know that I thought NASA, was it a folding into? I'll talk to Bill." So there you go. There are stuff going behind the scenes in Congress. We're still in the fog of war on a lot of this, and we're trying to figure out who's an ally of disclosure and who's not. Now, if Warner is confronting Kirkpatrick and putting pressure on him to actually do something, then maybe, just maybe, Warner is an ally of disclosure, but it's way too early to tell, and we will see where things go from here. Here's a little bit more from Observer of Anomalous Objects. "I have reached out to Senator Warner's office for clarification, and their response was less enlightening. All the aide would tell me is that Senator Warner has not released where he is on this issue. I said if he is for further UAP hearings in the Senate, it would be best for him to say so, and his office would not comment. Either way, leaving me scratching my head. If this is incorrect, you would think he would want to get out in front of it, and I even offered to be their voice if that was the case. Same answer, that nothing has been released, and when I asked when it would be released, I didn't get an answer there either." So, let me make this clear. This is not political. This is about transparency. Well, I sure would hope so. I don't think that politics come into the UAP discussion, and I hope it stays that way. It wouldn't surprise me that the control group, however, tried to insert politics into it to try to drive a wedge in the community, but I don't think we've gotten there yet, and hopefully we won't arrive at that point. Meanwhile, a viewer shared with me a series of photos and videos of the man he believes was in that photo that the Men in Black or whoever made that girl pose, hold up a picture of, trying to debunk the alien attacks or whatever is going on in Peru, trying to pretend it was a guy in a jetpack. Well, it turns out there is a well-known guy, Frankie Zapata, who is known for doing that stuff, and there's a lot of photos of him doing just that. And it could have been a photo just like this one that little girl in Peru held up or was, asked to hold up to try to debunk the alien attacks going on there. Instead of that, they're trying to say that it's all miners in jetpacks, as if that makes any sense at all. Speaking of things south of the border, Ronnie Vernet has a couple of really interesting UFO videos. Ronnie Vernet is our best reporter south of the border, and he's been reporting very seriously on what's going on in Peru. So let's take a watch. And I think that he's a very credible reporter and is unlikely to post BS. So let's take a look at this interesting UFO video he shared. Now, in Mexico and south of the border, they tend to get different UFOs than we do in the U.S. It's really intriguing. They often will get flotillas of UFOs, like hundreds of UFOs flying in the skies, and I've seen multiple videos of that. Really, really interesting, even in daylight. And sometimes they will get these cluster UFOs, where there's a bunch of little blobs together, and it can appear like a bunch of balloons, but they're not. It's really interesting that there could be different phenomenon going on there, and the very nature of UFOs and what the people are dealing with there could be vastly different from what we in America, at least, are experiencing. And those videos were taken by a Mexican pilot. Meanwhile, do George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell have evidence of shoot-downs of UFOs?
Is in the congressional hearing, they said, have you ever tried to communicate with these craft? Have there ever been shoot-downs? And I don't remember the exact words, but it was unanimously no, right? We don't fire upon UFOs was kind of the point. That's a lie. That is a straight up lie. And I will be providing with George direct evidence of shoot-downs or shoot-down attempts. And the reason I can do that is because I have an image of one that we try to shoot down with all the specific information that I have vetted and verified. And if people know in the classified realm where to look, they're going to find it. So I'm going to make sure make sure that that information is out so people can look at it, and I'm going to make sure Congress and Senate knows about it, because we do fire upon these unknowns, not for the reasons you think, but we do. And I'll give you a little brief slice here.
When 15 questions.
Yeah. Here's just a real brief little slice here, which is that in combat zones right now, we have anomalous objects or UFOs, and what happens is we'll be looking at them, debating whether or not to fire upon them. Now, we only fire upon them if they're within 27 to 35, whatever, miles from ground troops. Then it's an automatic shoot at it, because we don't know. If it appears to have a payload is another huge reason. So if it appears like it could be carrying something, it could be dangerous. Because, you could use like a drone over a fence and have a bomb and blow people up. But in the air, it's the same kind of thing. You want things dropping on you. So with these objects, they don't just fire upon UFOs, but when they come within a certain range to ground troops, now also if they look like they're carrying a payload. But the odd thing is, we saw Russia and Syria firing upon the same assets that we were debating fire upon, or sometimes we do fire upon. So we now know, and it's actually written really clearly in certain documents, that these are not ours, these are not theirs, and we're worried about crossfire. Whose are they? So that's the question.
Okay, so some great information from Jeremy. Of course, I've reported on this channel numerous occasions where we have indeed fired upon UFOs, and sometimes the UFOs will fire back. Sometimes we're able to bring them down. Sometimes they're able to bring us down. But it's really interesting that we choose specific UFOs to fire at. Well, if they fall within certain parameters, if they're within a certain distance of our troops, or if they're carrying a payload. You know, that makes sense. Meanwhile, Eric Davis is saying that the reverse engineering program was terminated in 1989. And it's much smaller than we would have expected. So that is very interesting. Let's take a listen.
That the crash retrieval program is a very small program. It is not a massive, huge government infrastructure. It's a very poorly funded program, and it probably hasn't had any money for a while. I do know that the program was terminated in 1989 for a lack of progress in reverse engineering anything that they had, any of the hardware that they had. And they'll resurrect it every maybe so often, so many years go by, and they'll try it again. And if they just don't succeed, compartmentalization is a killer. Scientists cannot communicate with other scientists to get help. It's like, I'm doing this first, that the crash retrieval program.
So there you go, Eric Davis saying that the program is very small and it wasn't making any progress and they defunded it. Now, I'm not buying that, of course. I don't know if Eric is putting out disinformation or not. I don't think that he is. I think that he was either given disinformation and now he's regurgitating that, or else there are levels within levels within levels, and then there are probably some outer levels, some smaller programs that aren't aware of the deeper stuff going on, and that those outer programs indeed were stymied and not making much progress in reverse engineering this stuff. And I really wouldn't expect them to. I mean, this stuff is very advanced. I don't have a whole lot of hope for reverse engineering this stuff. However, the people in the control group do seem to be flying around in UFOs a lot. So what's up with that, right? Well, that's because we seem to have been gifted this technology. There's numerous reports of the beings working with us, and those aren't just Joe Blow saying that. Those are, the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works engineers, directors of Area 51, and various very credible people that have said stuff like that. So, so we have been gifted technology, and they have allowed us to use some of that technology and helped us to develop it and to even train us in how to use it. So, but it is very interesting that there may be levels within levels and, outer levels, and that may be what Eric is talking about. Either that or that there's some disinformation going around, whether intentionally or not. Anyway, that's all I've got for you right now, but let me know what you think about all this in the comments below, and if you've enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. I would love to see you guys there. If you wanted to support Cosmic Road in a bigger way, please consider becoming a channel member. See the first link in the description below. Channel members are rock stars, and I really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you. Meanwhile, there's plenty of other videos to check out on the channel, and I'll see you next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.